All right, we're looking at the percent bars practice, and we're on the side that says day 2. 7% of the customers on cheapo airlines reported lost luggage. If there were 2,200 customers, how many reported lost luggage? So my numbers that are important are that there are 2,200 customers, and to me that sounds like the total because it's saying how many reported lost luggage. So let's reread it. It says 7% of the customers reported lost luggage. Okay, so 7% is not the total, obviously, because 2,200 is my total. And here I'm looking for how many people are represented by the 7%. So I'm going to go ahead. I know 7% is way down here, but because I want to have enough room to do everything, I'll mark 7% there. My total we said was 2,200, so my total is always going to be my 100%. And then this is my unknown. The whole purpose of the model is so that it can help us to do some estimation and give us a visual. And I also remembered that some shortcuts would be like changing 100% to maybe 10% or 1%. So that's actually where I'm going to start. 10%, I know that's a little bit high for my picture, but I don't want things to get too squishy. I know I can easily go from 100 to 10 by dividing by 10. And if I do that for my percents, I also do that for my values. So I would take my 100% value divided by 10 and get my answer for the 10% value. So I'll just pull over to show you what that's going to look like. A lot of you say, well, if I divide by 10, I just take off a 0. That's absolutely true. But what happens if you have a number like 13, when 13 doesn't have a 0? Well, you just move your decimal over to the left once. So I'm going to show you doing that. If I move my decimal over to the left once, that makes 220 for my, 220 for my 10% answer. And I'm actually going to write that here. 10% is 220. Now I can go ahead and start with my, or go ahead and find my estimated answer because 10% is pretty close to 7. I know that my actual answer has to be lower than 10%, so then my answer of 220 is a little high. I could say lower than or fewer than. Okay, lots of different word choices. So lower than 220, what are we looking for? Customers. Okay. And that is a small amount compared to the total of 2,200. So lower than 220 customers. Now I want to go ahead and set up my proportion. The other reason why we do a percent bar is because it should help us to figure out how to set my proportion up. Here I have 100. That's the number that we always use when creating the proportion. In this one, it's up on the top left. And then we look for the other info we have over here with percents. I have 10%, but that's not what was given to me in the problem. I'm actually using 7% because that was part of my word problem here. On the right side, on top, I've got the total, and that's my 100% of 2,200 customers. And again, that 7% correlates with this unknown. So that's going to be an X. Lots of times we look to see, is there a shortcut that we can find to get this answer? Some of you might know how to go from 100 to 2,200. But because not everybody's going to know that, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I can just solve this by using my cross multiply. I have 2,200 times 7, so I'll solve that over here on the side. 7 times 0 is 0, 7 times 0 is 0, 7 and 2 is 14. Carry the 1, 7, 2 is 14 plus 1, 15. Now that looks like a really large number, but we're not quite finished yet. That can go on either side of my equal sign. The other cross products is just the 100 times x, which is just 100x. In my opinion, I think that Working it out doing cross products is sort of easier because every time I have an X across from my 100, I know I'll be dividing by 100. Why is that easy? Because we remembered if I have a value like this 15,400, dividing by 100 just means that I'm moving my decimal twice to the left, or visually, for some of you, it makes it easier to look at it like this. These hundreds will cancel, and we would say, okay, take a top zero and a bottom zero off. And if you can do it again, you would do it again. This is the same idea as dividing by 100 means moving your decimal to the left twice. So notice, here I have 154 over 1, and here when I solved it, I have 154. Both answers are exactly the same. So x is equal to 154. And then I can look to see, is that close? Well, I'm going to say yes because I knew it had to be lower than 220 customers, and 154 customers would work out pretty good. So 154 customers. And what about those customers? Let's see. Ooh, they have lost luggage. Ooh. So they have lost luggage.